early days, but encouraging signs?
Well, there's definitely a difference. The last time we were together, it was always under for the last 8 games, for the large chunk of back in the last year, it was under a cloud, wasn't it? Weren't playing that well, and then we're in the mid-league, so we're gearing up for Saints away round 1, which we weren't able to say anything like that for the last 8 games, certainly last year. So yeah, there's a different feel for it, and it's good to get back to that.
You're in the training ground, of course. It's a new training ground as well. Is that?
We're enjoying it, yeah.
Yeah,
we're not taking it for granted.
Have the improvements helped?
I keep looking at the skies. There was a flood warning, and we got some flood barriers. We've actually got a protocol now for if the place gets flooded. There's a few people on the quick reaction force. I don't know what they call them. What do they call them? Anyway, there's a few people there that are going to get down a Kirksall really quick, and put some floodgates so the water can't get in, just in case it does flood. And even if it did flood, the place has been rebuilt to such a design and specification that it won't ruin too much either. So the electrics will just replace a couple of boxes, but the walls structurally it will be all right. But even so, when it rained the other day, I didn't leave Leeds. I live in North Yorkshire, which is an hour away, and I didn't leave Leeds. I stayed in Leeds just in case. I'll be there with a bucket and spade, hoisting the water out. So there's a bit of that. And then we redesigned Kirksall a little bit, and to what we've always wanted it to be. We work at the same place as the rugby union boys, and that's a really good relationship and has been forever. But 2 teams working at the same building, it's not a particularly big building. You do get on top of each other a bit, so we redesigned it a bit and reshuffled a bit, and that's working really well.
What sort of numbers have you got in training at the moment?
20s, yeah. We've got about 20 odd blokes working there at the moment, which is good. We've got a couple of lads who are just picking up 1 or 2 injuries in there at sidelines, and then the international boys, the 3 boys, Hawley, Watkins and Wardy, they're yet to come back, so but all good. We drip fed a lot of them back, so a lot of the young fellas and those that didn't play much came back on day 1, and then a couple of blokes a week after that, and a couple of blokes a week after that, so good to work with some numbers.
Is Brett Delaney fully fit?
Yeah, in terms of structurally where his body's at, for now, he's good. I'm only saying that with the right smile, because I know he has a carefree attitude to his own body, so you ask him to carry the ball in training and he runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour, so he'll pick up some sort of knock. But in terms of, he couldn't get going last year, Brett, and that was part to do with not having the running legs on him because of lack of pre-season, and part to do with his coach pushing him too much because we were chasing wins, which in hindsight there's some of the things we learned. I don't really feel bad for it, and I don't apologise for it, because we needed wins. I needed my best players on the field and some of my toughest players on the field, and he certainly falls into that category. But he never really got going yet last year, Brett Delaney, and he's looking forward to starting the campaign with us.
Brian, you'll be wanting to look forward, of course, but have you had much time on a personal basis to reflect on last year, lessons learned perhaps?
Yeah. That we went through a season review and a pretty deep one, which is not easy to do, and you really are. We get examined. Every department gets examined, and it wasn't pleasant to go through. You're asking some blokes asking you some questions, some pertinent questions, but if it's always about the best for what's best for the team, your ego takes a dent. But then you just put your ego to one side and say, well, look, what's best for the team? And even though I know it's all covered off, nobody else does. So, those questions needed to be asked, they needed to be answered. And to go through that process, while it was difficult, it's actually been a really good process to go through. We've come out of it great.
And yourself as well, reflecting on last year, the different times you said it, the most difficult coaching period for you. Do you look at it slightly differently now?
No, it was still one of the it is the most difficult coaching period I've been through. And I've obviously got a good take on it now. At the time, when it all started to happen and started to unravel for us, you go through a period of thinking, well, what's happened here? Then you have a look at it and review it. The review was always going on from round 5, round 6. you started to work out that Curse had more of a bearing than we ever imagined it would be. And then it had such a bearing that you thought, bloody hell, this is all about Kersal actually. The injuries killed us, but the blokes that were coming in to replace the injured fellas hadn't had the pre-season. So even though you know what's going on, you're still always after an answer we needed to win games. It wasn't about anybody's development last year for the final 15 games or people progressing or people improving or getting them to be better as people or anything like that. We just needed to win games and not be relegated. And that was a really harsh environment to work in. On reflection, it was a really tough thing to go through. And it isn't that we're faultless, and it isn't that I'm faultless. I made some errors last year. I chased too many wins last year. I should have put the players back into pre-season when they all came back from injury. I should have made them go through some tough moments, even though it probably would have cost us the result at the weekend. I should have made them do that. Easier said than done, though. And we come out of it, I think, in a far better shape.
What's Moz going to bring for you this season?
There'll be some obvious ones. I would imagine you could be onto that there. He's a presence, and I normally dismiss statements like that. Blokes who have a presence, but he does. He absolutely does. He's ultimately going to be our under-19s coach to start with. He's done a little bit of coaching, but in essence he hasn't done any coaching really. So he's going to cut his teeth as a coach. So he's going to come in and be an under-19s coach, find out about what it's like to stand in front of a group of players and impart some knowledge upon them to make them a better rugby league team. And in that process, he'll spend a lot of time with the first team and a lot of time with me, a lot of time with the staff. We'll show him the ropes. After meeting Mozza a few times, on one level when you're having a coffee with him, he's anything but a coach. And then on another level, when you dig past that, he's got an incredible amount of humility. For a bloke who's done what he's done, he almost apologises for sitting in front of you type thing. And once you get past that, what you've got is a bloke who gets it, he understands the game. And I think he'll have a real good talent of imparting some of that knowledge in a really humble way, of how to smash the opposition type thing, and he'll have some technicalities about him, I'm sure. And he has been, I read his quote there, he has been coached by some incredibly smart players in coaching in his time.
Seasons that you had consecutively, there'll be a lot of eyes on you in February. Is there a lot of added pressure, do you think, on you and the players this year?
Yeah, the best way of answering that is day one of pre-season for 2016, for the 2016 season, I didn't feel like we could have a year off. I remember coaching at London and watching Daniel Anderson be at Saints, and when he won a comp, I think he won either a grand final. I think they won the treble under Daniel Anderson, was it? In 2006. Anyway, I remember him having a really good year. I remember thinking, I wonder what's that like to win a grand final, and I wonder, does it make you feel any more relaxed? Does it make you think, we'll have a year off next year? And when you're in the job, you think, what a ridiculous thing to think. You never want a year off. I should imagine he felt in 2007 exactly how I felt at the start of 2016. After doing the treble in 2015, I thought, we better deliver this year. Honestly, I didn't feel like we can have time off. And it doesn't allow you, working with the people we've got, nobody comes into work thinking, I'll just have a day off now. It doesn't work like that. You know what the South Stand's like, and you know what our fans are like. They're brilliant, they're fantastic, but they don't take any nonsense either. And if you don't deliver, they'll tell you. And it's probably right as well. So I don't feel any more pressure this year than I did at the start of 2016.
Did you question yourself at all last year, questioning your methods ahead of the season starting in February?
No. Did I question myself? Yeah. Did I come up with the answers? Yes. Without trying to sound like a bit of a tit. Yes. If you don't doubt yourself, I don't think doubting yourself's a problem. And you've got to doubt yourself. If you don't doubt yourself, I don't think you get out of bed early in the morning. If you've got it covered all the time, I don't know how that works in real life. So yeah, there were some moments where I thought, that's bad. But with enough work ethic and enough care about the job and talking to enough people, having enough humility to make some calls, that's why I sit here pretty confident now, pretty determined now because of the process we've been through.
Do you feel the experienced players gained a lot from last season after what they went through as well?
Well, it's been something that they've never been through. So Rob, Mags, Jamie Jones. I feel for Danny Mags. I think Mags is a fantastic leader. Just didn't get time to show it last year. And Mags is more of a look at what I'm going to do and you can follow me. A bit like JP actually. I'll go do it and you lot follow me. So it was tough for Mags when he couldn't do it. But you know, he's in a very determined, extremely determined mood. For a bloke who's done as much as he has, been one of the star players of Super League, I don't. Is he still the leading try scorer of Super League? He still has the determination. He's still the first bloke on the training field. He's still the bloke who's driving the sessions, and he's done it for a number of years now. You know, there's a bit to admire there. But certainly Rob and Jamie Jones all went through a process there of having leadership thrust upon them, and came out and said last year, no, Jamie Jones and Rob were brilliant as leaders last year.
I know Chris Bloom's been working pretty much side with you regardless for a couple of years now, but how important is it him having solely reviewed first team sort of thing, and obviously didn't replace Jimmy, did you, as such? Is that something that you thought we need to make a permanent?
Yeah, I think the dynamic of losing a Jimmy type character, a Jimmy Lawes type character, and you know, Moz, I suppose, replaces that dynamic. You got to look at what Chris Plume's done with us. He's been with me 5 years now, Plume. He's done a great job. Plume's history in the game, I suppose, although he's played and been involved with rugby league all his life, never really played pro. So for him to stand in front of a group of Super League players, international players, some of the best players in the world, and deliver some information where the players go, yeah, I get that. Good that coach. I think he's done an incredible job, and to have him as our, you know, sole coach next year, without the 19s, it'll be good for him.
Right, just on a practical level with Kirkstall, Boxing Day last year and that period, how bad was it on a practical level, finding places to train, and where did you train?
Yeah, we didn't train January. Best way of answering that is we just didn't train January. Bear in mind it was the wettest winter than ever, and every grass field, every patch of grass, which we ended up training on just patches of grass, I suppose, recognised field was booked out. So you pretty much wipe off January. It was a big thing. Practically, it was almost impossible.
Is it only now when you realise how much it actually affected the season? When you look back?
No, I reckon I knew Hull Yard at home. I knew. I had a word with Gary Etherington over the weekend and said, do you know what, I think this being washed out of Kirkstall is going to affect us more than what we thought it would do. And Gary and I had a bit of a conversation there. And then as the season drew on, I thought, and then when you realise it became, the boys just didn't have any legs on them. Just didn't have any running legs on them.